So I am going to get this piece. It's only like 10 bucks. So we'll take this off, put that on there, see if it fires up. We won't spend a lot of money trying to. The next thing is the carburetor. They sell these now on eBay, the Chinese version for 150 bucks. So that's what I'm gonna get, because I don't want to spend a lot of money and have this big waste of money sitting in here rotten. So I'm just gonna get a knockoff and that'll be fine, but pretty sure this is the problem, so I'm going to order that and then we'll try it again, see if it actually starts. I need to do something with this fan. I don't like this. I'd rather have the fan clutch, so that would bring this out a little farther and closer to it. I don't like how this is. I don't like how tall it is. It just seems dangerous. Basically, it's disgusting, and I'm going to pressure wash it. Got some mouse turds. Just I don't really even want to work on it. Just breaks a mess. But the thing that I want to do is scope this tank, see what's in it. It's rusty. Can I get down in there? So I got one of these little turd scopes, and I'm going to put it down in there and see what's down in this tank, see how good or bad it looks. A video of the video. So that actually looks better in the camera than it does. Let's see if I can see. The sending unit sock is just laying in there in a pile of rust. I could get over there to keep going back to that same spot. Well, it looks empty and rusty. So my thinking is maybe it had a hole in it or something in this tank. I mean, it's not the worst tank I've ever seen, but it's another $160 for a new tank. So, and a sending unit, it's $200. So I'm gonna rack up a lot of money fast. I'm gonna go through it. $200 for a tank and sender unit, about $200 for a carburetor, $100 for a distributor. That's $500. See if this thing's gonna run. So I really want to put a battery in there, turn that to see if the timing chain's blown. Because if the timing chain's blown, that's gonna be another $100. That's $600. I don't even want to mess with this motor. I'll just try to figure something else, pull this out, get something different, because that's not even proving that the transmission is bad. So anywho, step one, I'm gonna pressure wash this son of a gun. It's disgusting. So that's what I'm doing next. I scoped this tank, so that's telling me that I don't really want to use this tank. Just get a fresh one. Look at all that rust in there. Just not worth. You could take it out and pressure wash it, but I think it got holes in it. When I looked underneath there, there was a spot that looked like it would rust through pretty quick. Spot. Let's see, a lot of spots, but that looks like a major spot. So even though this doesn't look that bad underneath, I think it's just time for a new one. All right, got a couple goals on this today, and that's to start welding these holes. And in order to do that, I feel like I need to remove the door panel. Even though I can't do it with one hand, I want to remove the gas tank because I want to paint this underneath there, underneath the gas tank, and put a new tank and fix anything that needs fixed. But I don't think there's too much that needs fixed because that trunk is like perfect. So I'm going to drop the gas tank anyways because I either need to pressure wash it or buy a new one, and paint all of that underneath there, the rear axle, underneath the tank, all the fun stuff. And I saw some spots in these rear floors, so I want to take the carpet out, the door panel out, and the gas tank, and maybe start welding those. So wish me luck. Okay, basically there's two straps bolted to the back, one there, one over there. Now on mine there's 3 sets of fuel lines that are all attached. I need to disconnect these 3 fuel lines or cut them. Those look pretty good condition. I'm just gonna disconnect, undo these 3 and try to pull them off and pull this off as one whole unit to have something to look at to put it back. My fear is bugs will crawl in here and, you know, plug these up. It would be better to cut these and plug them with something so stuff wouldn't get in the lines, because this is mud dog country. But hopefully I won't have it off that long. All right, here's my worry with this. When I go to put it back, I won't remember which line goes which. So I'm going to definitely take a picture of it. The bottom one is the rubber long hose, and then you have your 2. The small one and the small one's easy, but these 2 I'm going to get confused. So let me take a picture of that. Hopefully this video will remind me of what goes where. All right, the first one was so rotten it broke. So I cut these strategically so I would know where they go back. And basically the tank just fell out, but I have 2 more problems, a ground and a positive wire. So luckily that didn't fall and break that. So I guess I need to disconnect that, or maybe I can disconnect it here on top. I can't see, but I would think that just wiggles off the top. That was your positive. Your ground is probably part of this contraption. Sorry, I'm not showing that. Positive just popped off. Got just a wanky little hole. So I am gonna have to unground it right there. That would probably be the best because I can't see up there, and move on. All right, with the magic of time lapse, what I do love about this car, it is fairly rust free. Man, that looks good. It's not all ruined. So happily I won't have a lot of rust work to do. Quick video, that is definitely a hole. So it's a good thing I got rid of that. Would have been nothing but problems. Would have been more holes coming through there. That was definitely a real hole. So good thing. Let's get rid of that. Don't mess around, catch fire. Well, as you can see, a lot of work, and you could lose the willpower to finish this real easy. Got to remove the door panels, because if I'm cutting in here and grinding this off, likely to catch on fire. Here's another big, man, I got the cough from all this nasty dust. I should have saved that. That's disgusting. Still need to get this off. Still works. But all this stuff that I can get off that won't catch fire, figure out what I'm going to do. That's just some old seam sealer. Basically just dried up old looking tar stuff. So I took off the rails, the electricity rails. It's all disgusting. You get in here and shop vac this next. Grind this off, buff it with a wire wheel, and see where I'm going to cut to weld in floor pans, what really needs to be replaced. A lot of stuff to worry and think about. So next thing is the door pans, and I'm choking on all this dirt. And this looks disgusting. It doesn't want to shift. Now the key's stuck in there because I shifted it to get the thing off. Now it's like not twanking back to release the key. I don't know what's up with that. So now the key's stuck in there. Don't like that. I have to research why that key is getting stuck. Ignition switch is stuck. It might be because of this thing here. Can't get the key out. Damn it. What's funny is I had the same thing happen in a 69 Chevelle. It got stuck in the run position and you couldn't shut the car off. Something in the column broke. So I'll have to research that. It's probably just a switch or something, but happy about that. All right, pretty brutal. Could not get the door panels off because I need a hook to get the little spring clip off of there, and those will come off. So basically I need to decide how much floor pans I'm actually buying, how far up I need to go. That kick panel is up there pretty far, so I will research that. Got a hole in every section. 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, and 6. So the next step will be to vacuum this out and wire wheel the edges so I can figure out where I'm cutting. Am I leaving these? Am I buying? Am I cutting in the whole thing? I prefer just to cut in the whole thing and put pans in the whole length, half pans. So I'll get the door pans. I worked about 2 hours. This was a perfect nasty weather day. It was just brutally cold this morning. So I got the tank out, got the carpet out. Pretty big step. I got to do around that back window. So the floors, weld these doors, weld these holes. So now's the time to do it. Well, I have that gas tank out, so I don't have no gas tank, no battery. Ba-bam, ba-bam. I'll get welding in here, cutting and welding, get this done. All right, I'm able to get to this lever, which comes up from the transmission and goes into the steering column right there. And I was able to pull up on this. Must be some slack or misalignment. And that allowed this key to come out. So good thing to know that, because that's kind of squirrely. That needs to be lubed up. Scary that gets stuck, but got the key out. Yay! Well, back over here looking at these floors, trying to figure out what's what I'm going to do, what I'm going to cut. Ordered this piece. They sell it forward piece, rear piece, 4 pieces, long piece. I purchased this rear piece that was over the hump, and I purchased this side. This was $186 plus tax, $200 even, off of Amazon. And I got this one off of eBay for $150 drive out, and the other side I have not purchased because they want $300 for it, and it's just killing me to pay that much money. So I'm going to get it, but I figure plenty of work to do this side and that side. I forgot the tool to take the door panels off, so I guess I'll just open the doors because I really want to get the party started, figure out what I'm going to start cutting out. Step 1 is to vacuum it. I bought the cheapest one off of eBay, and it says muscle parts now, which seems like only an eBay store, and that's a good marked part number. So let's take it out of the box and see what I really got. Comes in a giant box. Lets you replace the whole thing. That does not look like anything that says good mark. It does have a good mark, but this is really the part number. So I'm not sure who's making these, but everybody's kind of selling the same part. I mean, they'll put this reference at part number, but they all coming from this place that has these part numbers. So, is what it is. It does not have any of the holes, but it does have this thing for the seats. So, I get to figure out what I'm cutting out. Can't imagine cutting the middle hump out. Pretty sure I'll just cut these sides and not use the middle, but we'll see. Alright, I'm trying to just drag a few things over here at a time and work, which makes it really hard. Because again, I forgot this piece. I have to bring a light, bring a shop vac, so I'm going to shop vac this out. It's awful disgusting. So, alright, really comical. I finally got the pin out for the door handle, but now there's two Phillips screwdriver, and I have no stinking Phillips screwdriver over here. So, step one, with the way this silly glass is curved, it's best to roll the window down first. And whilst you're rolling the window down, look in there, get you a door thingy, and see where the clip is. Now you want to be in front of the plastic piece. And then you got to look where the little metal wire is and grab it and pull it out. So I can't film it and do it. It's a big pain. You have to grab the hook. It's a spring clip, but it springs over the little bolt and holds it in there. So that's got to come off. And on mine, see the spring clip goes in there and pinches that thing. So I like it the better, the ones that have the little screw on the end. But so basically you can go in, push this way or this way. So either you have to be able to look in there and see which way to pull it out. Really, really hard to get that sucker out. Now to put it back in, you can just clip this back on here, and with that in there, then you just pop that on there, pop that on the thing, and it will go back on there. Then you got to go around here and find the little metal hooks and pry those out. You want to get close to those metal keepers as you can if you're trying to save your door panel. I can hear that one just tearing the cardboard. So you got to get those all out around, multiples. Some come out easy, some come out hard, and then that lifts up over the window. Got rid of my vacuum too soon. This is a fire waiting to happen. Cutting sparks will go in there and catch that on fire. So I need to get the vacuum back over here before I start this. So I need to make another run, go get a Phillips screwdriver, go back and get the vacuum so I can vacuum this out. But I am making some progress. And then you need to decide whether I'm covering this. So I really need a fire blanket so I could protect that window in there, drape it over the door so when I'm cutting and grinding, that metal's not going on my window and ruining the window. So, another trip, Phillips, fire blanket, vacuum cleaner. Golly, I'm getting tired. All right, I got the jack stands on the frame. I got the tires supporting its weight on those wheels as well. Up here in the front, I have the center support supported on these chintzy bricks, but I do have two sets and they're all touching, all on there. So I feel fairly safe. Maybe I'll get two more jack stands and put under there for when I'm working. But I got one of the mufflers loose. That's so much higher than it was before. So I feel a little better about crawling around underneath here to get this stuff out of here and get the other muffler loose. I don't even know what's holding that. The center support and a bolt. So I did get the vacuum. It's taken me a while to go run around. It's definitely took me a while to get that jacked up. So fun times. So the fun things that I've done today is just get the exhaust off. Get this jacked up in the air. So the exhaust is off where I can get to these floor pans because I want to cut it from the bottom, not the top. I will have to remove some of these fuel lines, just lower them down so I can cut around them and weld around them. It's going to be kind of scary, but there's no fuel in it, so if I hit one, it wouldn't burn for long, hopefully. Looks like there are rubber lines and a collection of metal lines. So maybe I will replace these metal lines while I got this off. Got brake lines and fuel lines. Fuel lines on one side, brake lines on the other. So that's kind of what I'm going for to fix underneath here. So if I would have done it differently, I would have bought the smaller patches, but I didn't know. And maybe that's one thing that this video will help the next guy, is just to order the patches, because I'm going to cut this from the bottom. Cut them across this line and then just leave that stuff on the inside and put my new pan over it, so it'll be a little thicker in some spots, but that's okay. Nobody's gonna, you know, as long as you cut along this, that's what people are gonna see, is this underneath transition. So there really won't be any transition. The new pan will just be sitting on top of it. It'll look like just a piece of that. So this will be overlapped with the new piece for sure, because I am going to cut this section out. I may leave a strip in the center just to weld that to. We'll see, but I think it'll look fine if I leave it. We'll definitely see. All right, we got the, what I believe is driver's side floor pan. So let's open this up, see what we got from Golden Star Classic. I believe this is located out of Louisville and Dallas. So I could drive to Dallas and get the other one. Let me pull it out of here. All right, that's pretty interesting. Has some little kid's foot on there. So basically you get some of the foot part, you get the sides to weld to the edge, and you get half the hump. So I'd really like to get this in here. This is down in the seam, so basically you're not cutting this out, you're cutting the bottom out. So I'm thinking, since I only have this, that I'm going to cut it from the bottom, and there's some stuff here, so I'm going to cut around all that stuff, cut that out, leave what I can. So let me give that a try, see if I can cut along this and maybe remove that lip. But for now, I'm going to cut from the bottom, cut this out, and definitely see what I can do about this. But you know, obviously I got this stuff in the way, the emergency brake, but maybe I can go along this edge, much as the floor that I can, and not do much along here, because man, that's looks pretty damn good. So you know, that's what I was worried about buying this big piece. I don't really even want to mess with this center section. I do have some rust clear up in here. Got a lot of stuff going on underneath there. Especially this section all looks good. All right, well, then you got the frame, so either you have to cut around that frame or not mess with the frame, and you have all those lines there. What a pain in the butt. And not lose and butcher your seat pieces. So I definitely want to cut along this. And that section there looks pretty good. I don't think I want to mess with that, but I'm going to have to cut from underneath here. Alright, even with this limited room, fuel lines are out. They could come out through the back. This one too. I did loosen this clippy. They're just pinched on. All of them are. So that allowed this third one. I'm not sure what's going on with it, but it's the one that goes over there by the so one of these is fuel, probably a vent, and one of them is the brake line. So I'm gonna have to be careful and maybe disconnect this brake line, but not sure what I'm gonna do. They definitely can clear, but I'm worried about welding too close to the pan and cutting right over there around that section and welding and not hitting that brake line. That would be a mess. All right, I've not gotten very far. I started getting into one of the under pieces, so all right, I really needed to get that out. Even though I could spray it from underneath, had a lot of rust in my tool. My little star driver, it's all twisted and ruined because that's the common size that fits everything. I need to replace that, get a new one, but that took 30 minutes to get that out. I'm whooped. So I kept spraying it, driving it back in, get it out a little bit, drive it, just kept. But even though I'm not even going to be over there, I'm literally going to be like right here. And then this will have to just go on top of this, because I won't be able to cut it out because it's covered. I mean, yes, you could cut it out, but you'd have to be very careful and figure out where all the spot welds are. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cut it from underneath where the seam is, from underneath, and then overlap it and weld it in here. Be just fine. This metal's all in good shape anyways. The only thing that was bad was this little section and right there in the middle anyways. So kind of like this, just that little section in the middle. So just cutting that out and welding it to the sides will be just fine. All right, this looks brutal from up on top, but what I'm trying not to do is cut through the support beams. So this is an overlap. You got support beam underneath, so when you put the new pan on top, it doesn't look funny. So I'm not cutting that beam. I'm leaving this section to give that some support. I'm being real careful around this and underneath. So basically, I'm taking this cutting wheel and slicing an open spot. That's one way to do it. And then I'm taking this reciprocating saw and I'm cutting what I can from up here where I know there's nothing, but I have to cut underneath here so I don't hit that back wall piece. So let me cut this here and over to there, and then I'll get my tool in there and cut. It looks like it's going about right there, so I have to be careful. Luckily, all of this is good, or I'd have to strategically just cover it, because underneath you can't see it because of that double plate there. And I want to leave as much as this center piece to give that structure. So I'm going to weld to the inside of this. Maybe drill some holes in this and then weld it from underneath, and then drill some holes or just weld this along the edge up here, and that'll give that really strong structure. But try not to make too big of a deal out of it. I'm sick, I don't feel good. This is where I have to cut it from underneath. So I'm making sure I'm not cutting anything. I'm gonna have to wire wheel that so I can weld up over the top. Now if yours is bad, you'd have to go all the way up in there, because this goes actually underneath right here. So it folds and goes underneath. So I'm glad I didn't go any farther than that. All right, here's a better picture of butchering into that thing. That's what you don't want to do. And that's what I'm trying to do, not cut into any of this frame. Like under here, you don't want to cut into that frame. You don't want to cut into the frame on the sides. You don't want to cut into this frame back here. So I can cut that, nibble it out. Trying to be careful here. I'm cutting it from underneath. I went from there to there. If I want to, I can get a little closer, just like I did this one. So I probably will do that once I get that out of the way. Now I need to go across the back. And then I got to figure out what I'm doing about these center sections. I see rust holes, so I definitely want to do this section and do this section for sure. Man, I could almost put my hand through there. All right, that's what I got so far. The other side is worse. I need to cut out these two sections in the front. So it is a slow process. So I got, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, hour maybe, cutting that out. So it's no fun. It's got to get her done. Got to cut out that thing and cut it out so it looks good underneath. So basically, when somebody looks underneath here, they gonna just see that same pattern there once you put the pan back in. So got to be strategic about it. I see there's more rust there, so I'm actually going to cut around that tube, and then I'm going to match it on this side so they look the same. Fun times. Really quite sad when you realize nothing's holding together this car except for this floor pan, which is not very thick right here in the center. So that's definitely a weak spot of this car. So that's why they like to put that subframe connectors to connect to the back to the front. And I may put some subframe connectors on here just because I'm cutting this out, realizing how weak it is. All right, it's been about 2 hours working on this. Maybe not quite that long, but I'm gonna unbolt these things on the side. I'd like to keep cutting, but I've only got one of these discs left, and I'm about sick of it. So let me unbolt what I can unbolt and dream a little bit, and let's see what I can do. If that side didn't have so many holes, I'd just leave it, but because if I cut this out, I gotta do the same thing. I gotta cut along these two ridges and leave some space over here to weld and some center. So I think I might go right here, leave that center right there, both sides. This is going to be a cluster because that whole pan has to be cut out clear to here. So I'm going to have to disconnect these brake lines, move them out of the way like I did that. Geesh, I'm ready for a break. Maybe I'll come back to this and cut this another time. All right, that's the next section. Then there's one more metal plate. So I'm going to leave that section. Nobody will see it. I'm not going to clean. I mean, I want to buff it, but I'm not going to do all that work to get that out. It's just going to be trapped in there. So looking good, but I still have this big section, two big sections to get out. From underneath, this looks really good. Doesn't look real good from up top, but underneath it looks real nice. I'm getting better at using this saw to cut what I want to cut instead of make a couple plunge cuts, one on each side where I want underneath, and fit it in, and then just reciprocate it out. So that's working better than trying to, especially when it's just these straight cuts. Now this other one's going to be a bigger problem because all the stuff's in the way. I don't know if I can take a clear picture of this, but this, you do not want to cut through this. This is part of the plate that holds the floor pan. So I'm going to have to cut. I think I'm going to cut along here and leave this intact, and that will get me, you can't see it, but the floor pan is right there, so that's going to have to go on top. So I can be able to cut through here, cut across here, and cut this not so much out. And in fact, that's such good condition, I would think I would want to cut right here and leave that there. Well, I say that, but that's where it's rusted out. So there is a firewall pan and this, and mine includes the other pan. So choice is either I can slide this underneath and cup it, which would be hard but doable. But you know, this is just not very wide. Same thing with this. It's going to be a challenge to just cut this right here, and that's what I'm going to do. Cut here, cut along this, and cut this way. This whole floor pan needs to stay anyways, so I may take this headers off. I don't intend to keep these headers anyways. That would give me access to all the stuff that I wanted. So to be able to cut this out, it would be nice to have these headers off. So what a stinker. So I'm going to have to decide whether I'm removing headers, and now's the time to do it whilst I can have this thing jacked up in the air and can slide them out through the bottom. Decisions. All right, I'm attempting to get these headers off, and it's kind of funny when you have to totally disassemble a whole car to get to it. So this was mounted in there in such a way with a spacer and the tool to the AC to the pump. So this should theoretically be the fun stuff, but when it takes you 2 hours to get off one part, it takes the wind out of your sail. All right, I still got one bolt on each side that's holding these. So I have no love for long tube headers. I know people love them, but I do not like anything about them. They touch everything. They're just in the way. They don't fit right. So these are coming off, not going back on. I was able to pound this screwdriver in there to make room to get that wrench on there, on their beautiful header. So hopefully that'll give me room to get it off. All right, it's free. Got 1, 2 wires trapped. Oh no, just lost the gasket for the oil thing seal. I gotta pull those off and slide it either through the bottom or come out through the top. Oh, that wasn't even on there. You know, that would have been not firing good. All right, I don't know why any sane person would put headers on a stock car. This hits every single thing in this car. Has one bolt that I can't reach from the bottom or the top, and I don't even know if it'll come out through the bottom because of the starter. So I'm going to be very unhappy if I have to. All right, I want to show you how insane this is. So there's the header.
the end of it, and it touches pretty much the frame rail. It touches the starter, touches the electrical wires. In fact, I think they're burnt going to the starter. And then getting to that bolt, the pair of pliers is on it, and I'm having to look up through this little hole right here and flip this around, working very carefully to set that back on there. Let's see if I can even show. That's it right there, and that's all you get turned. And then you have to flip it while it's holding it with your 2 fingers. Luckily, they weren't in there Superman tight, and I was able to start it from the other side. And now that it's coming loose, I'm able to get my hand up in there a little more each time. Crazy. All right, now I have 2 spark plugs for sure that need to come out, maybe all of them. I had 1 spark plug wire that was just sitting on there, not really attached. I had 2 on the other side that weren't really attached. So let me pull this out. I still think I'm gonna have to pull the starter to get it out. This is a good video of working on somebody else's car. That's how that spark plug, that's the one that was just sitting on there loose. Never even touched it. Interesting. Alright, this is a 2-bolt starter. Problem is, the wiring is still connected that I can't reach, and these starters are really heavy. My fear is that I'm going to mess up the wiring. So I really need to maybe suspend that with a piece of wire or something from the top, so if it falls, it doesn't totally fall, because it will smash a finger, that's for sure, when that thing comes out. Maybe I'll try to unscrew a little more and just lower it. I don't know if it can lower without, I don't know what's holding it up in there. Alright, that was definitely absorbing all of my patience. When I let that one go, there was something still holding it on the front, so it didn't fall. I don't know what miracle that was or what it was hanging up on. I was able to pull the header out. Do not know what this goes to or what it's supposed to attach to, but it was protecting the wires or something, but it needs to be put back. So I got the bolts back in. I'm going to screw them back in. Got the header out. I was tempted to cut it, but it may be worth a whole $20 at the swap meet. All right, good news is what was holding it was the battery cable, and put the spark plugs back in. So if I just finger tight, so if I put use this motor, I can put the headers on. If I don't use this motor, it'll be closer to being able to be pulled out, so no big deal. So getting a lot of stuff loose, no problem putting it back. Moving on to the next step, which is cutting the floors. So I see why I'm being resistant from cutting up. One, it's pinching here, and I have the transmission bar and I have the speed cable. So let me gently cut that on the top from there to there at that angle and get that out of there. All right, pretty much just have to go for it. Have to plunge in some spots so you can get that cutter in there. So basically, if I can cut somewhere along here to get a cut this way, so I could get the knife in there, cut this way, decide how far I'm going up. I see a rust spot right there, so I'd like to go past that. Then I have to travel around this side, so if I could punch a hole right there, one right there, and maybe there. Same with this side, so that's what I'll do. I'll do all my circular plunge cuts try to get the party started on both sides. Then I'll videotape that and I'll show you how I'm putting the knife in and cutting through here. Definitely don't cut through that. I'd like to leave that, but I really can't because it'll leave a weird thing because I'm cutting that out, so it'll just have to do without that piece. This is the firewall piece and this is the floor pan, but mine comes up and goes to about 6 inches up, so I'll have to be very careful on that side. I'll have to get some other metal to weld over there. So I'm going to do circular cuts first, and then I'll show you what I've done. All right, now making those plunge cuts are brutal because it just throws sparks everywhere. So I have cuts, open slots, so I can get the reciprocating saw in there. I got them on this side. I've gone around and just cut all these party starters. So now, basically, you can take this reciprocating saw, and I regret not getting this up as high as I wanted because I have had it smash my fingers because this bam on the concrete and it hurts. So I'm wearing goggles today and they suck because they just keep sweating up for my eyeballs. Yesterday I got 2 little pieces of metal in my eye, but I may have to just go back to the safety glasses over there and not the goggles because I can't see anything in the goggles. What a stinker. I'm really struggling cutting from underneath. I actually got a couple of these a little longer, but I really feel like I need 2 people. It's kind of aggravating trying to do this by myself, to know what's going on up here, that I don't cut something important. It's gonna have to go this way, across, and that way, but there's stuff underneath there, so there's still stuff in the way. So I guess I'll do like this side and just try to keep going, and then whatever I can cut. But my back's killing me from laying on this floor 2 days in a row, and it's uncomfortable. A lot of complaints here from the peanut gallery, but it is what it is. Now I just smashed my finger again. I'm trying to cut and the saw reciprocated and smashed the crap out of my pinky. So even though this is up pretty high, it's not up high enough to be able to use this reciprocating saw. It even bent the blade. So I want to bend this blade back in straight and try to make sure a more of an angle, so if it catches, it doesn't get my finger. Now I connected some of the dots from up here and just cut so I could get it out of the way. I feel like if I had 2 people, somebody guiding me from the top and the bottom, telling me it's not catching on fire, then I'd be a little better off. So I'm going back under there to try to cut that long seam and pull that out of there. I say I got rust, but that can go over the top. All right, jolly good times. I got it cut to the frame so I can connect the dots from up here. I got it to the frame, so I'm just going to go over and cut to that, and then I'll recut it after I get this piece out and can see a little better, decide what I'm going to cut. So basically this is done, that's done. I need to sort out that up there. I need to come in here and clean up whatever I want to clean up. I need to get that bolt out for the seat. This one has got the bolts out for the seat. That's good. But anywho, let me connect the dots. All right, hour and a half, get the headers off and cut those out. So far I haven't destroyed or butchered anything that I shouldn't have. I'm gonna leave this up there for whatever reason I chose. That will be fine. So now I'm gonna have to get in here with the buffing wire wheel and get all this off, but I need to finish cutting need to get the tape measure out and figure out how far I need to go up. I definitely need to patch that hole up there, but I have some pieces. So golly, everything is stinking hard. That's a piece of like jute pad or something that's, I'll just have to tear that off, I bet. All right, well, I know that's got to come out. I don't know how high that goes up there. So I could stick this one in here to kind of see how high it is. I need to cut the sides, buff the sides. So just for the sake of fun, I'm gonna have to take that loose so I can slide it underneath. Hopefully that goes over and covers that piece. So let's lay that in here for the fun of it, see how it fits. More things to disconnect. I need to disconnect the high beam off the floor. I need to disconnect this line so I can get the emergency brake out of the way, because that's going to have to go next to it and weld there on the floor. Go underneath that piece and decide how far up I'm going to lap that over. Whether I can't lap it underneath because it's tacked in that rusty spot.